Welcome back, Sebastian here. So today I wanted to make a video talking about Sergio Perez and Sergio Perez's championship challenge. Now to do this I wanted to take a look at historical teammate pairings who had dominant F1 cars and just look at how those teammates fared head to head and how the number 2 driver fared against the number 1 driver, and look at what kind of results would need to take place for that number 2 driver to have a chance of beating the number 1 driver to a F1 championship. And this was in the context of Sergio Perez challenging Max Verstappen for the 2023 F1 championship. So I'm going to go through this in chronological order, starting with my first pair of teammates, which are Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello. So Rubens Barrichello and Michael Schumacher were teammates in Formula One from 2000 all the way to 2005. And Schumacher, of course, won 5 straight drivers' championships from 2000 all the way to 2004. 2005 was quite a struggle, though, as the team was hindered by the changes that the FIA had made for that season. So over their 104 races as teammates together that year, Schumacher averaged 17.1 points, and Barrichello averaged 11.7 points. I should also mention that for this pairing, I basically took the liberty of converting all of their points totals to the 26-point system that we use today, just so that we could make a more accurate comparison of teammate performances. So this is about a 5.8 point difference per race, and over a 22 race season, this would account to a 128 point difference over the course of a season. Now the point that I wanted to make is that for the second driver in each of these scenarios to have a chance, how many more DNFs would the number 1 driver need in order for the points total to be about equal? And for this, I basically assume that if you have a very dominant car, you're more often than not going to finish 1-2 in the championship. So, for example, if driver 1 finishes first and then driver 2 finishes second, but then driver 1 has a DNF, that would be a 32-point swing. So this, for Barrichello and Schumacher, that would be 3.99 retirements more retirements in favor of Schumacher that Barrichello would need to possibly challenge for a championship under the modern system. Now, next we have Rosberg and Hamilton, one of the more evenly matched teammate pairings that we have on the board, actually the most evenly matched, but definitely one of the more evenly matched teammate pairings in F1 history. So through 79 races together, it was really 78, but because of Abu Dhabi being a double points race, because Bernie wanted to make things interesting, I basically made it 79 so that the math works out a bit better. Rosberg averaged 15.1 points per race. Hamilton averaged 16.9. And of course, for this teammate duel, they were teammates from 2013 to 2016. They won 3 championships together, 2 for Hamilton, 1 for Rosberg, their time together as teammates. So this is about a 1.8 point difference, and so the cumulative difference over the course of a season would be 38.7 in favor of Hamilton. So fairly close. So the amount of retirements required for Rosberg to have a chance is about 1.2, and that's exactly what we got in 2016. That kind of helped Rosberg win that championship. Rosberg didn't have a single DNF that year, I believe. No, of course, excluding Spain 2016, obviously. I believe that Rosberg didn't have any other DNFs that year. So, and of course, Hamilton infamously retired from the lead of the 2016 Malaysian Grand Prix. So that did nonetheless contribute to Rosberg winning that championship. Next, staying at Mercedes, we have Bottas and Hamilton. So they had 100 races together, very, very nice round number. Bottas averaged 13.2 points per race. Hamilton averaged 19.2 points per race. And the difference, gives you a difference about 6 points per race. So the cumulative difference over a 22 race season would be 131 points. And so that means that the amount of excess retirements needed for Hamilton for Bottas to have a chance is about 4.09. So about a little bit higher than Barrichello and Schumacher, but much higher than Rosberg and Hamilton. And last, the main topic of today's video, Perez and Verstappen. So for Perez, there are 52 races as teammates. Basically, I've added a race to account for sprint points. We had 3 sprints last year. The winner got 8 points. So 8 times 3 is 24. So it's very close to about the same as one race. So I basically added a race to their total. 11.8 for Perez, and for Verstappen, 19.7 points per race. I should also mention, so for Verstappen and Perez, of course, they've been teammates for 2 and a bit seasons. In both seasons, Verstappen has won the championship. So of course, the points difference between Verstappen and Perez, 17.84 for Verstappen. 7.84 points per race advantage for Verstappen, which is a cumulative total of 172.4 over a 22 race season. And this would gives you a retirement requirement of 7.38 excess retirements for Verstappen. I also forgot to mention as well for Bottas and Hamilton, of course, 5 seasons together. 5 seasons together and 4 championships for Hamilton, 0 for Bottas. So I think looking at this, I think it's quite interesting that of the 4 teammate pairings I've looked at, the gap between Perez and Verstappen in the races appears to be at its biggest. Of course, depending on how dominant a constructor is, this can greatly affect the relationship, the difference between 2 teammates, depending on where they are in the field. Of course, if you're in the midfield, the points gap is going to be smaller, and if you're at the front and you have a dominant car, usually the points gap is a bit bigger. The other thing that I thought was interesting is that even though we regard Schumacher as being an exceptional driver and being much better than Rubens Barrichello, he only averaged 17.1 points per race during that incredibly dominant 6-year stretch at Ferrari. Of course, I think reliability was much worse, so he generally had a lot more retirements due to mechanical problems when they were teammates together. So I think this really kind of also puts into perspective the challenge that Perez is up against. Basically, he needs 5 or more than 5, basically 6 retirements for Verstappen to even have a chance of winning the F1 title this year. And so 6 retirements from, let's see, we have 7 races out of 22, so that's 15 races left. So Verstappen would basically have to DNF half the remaining races. Perez would have to get no DNFs, and of course he has to win those races that Verstappen doesn't DNFs from as well. So I think it really just highlights the challenge that Perez is up against this year, going up against Max Verstappen. And I think as the cars get more and more durable, as they get less and less retirements, these kinds of gaps become increasingly more difficult to overcome, I think, for the second driver in each of these situations. So I think that was just like a fun little video talking about teammate pairings in dominant machinery and seeing like how much you would need for that second driver, because it's something I've seen talked about online about, oh, Perez still has a chance, he just needs X number of DNFs from Verstappen, or how at the start of the year, how it's a different season, whereas the reality is there isn't really that much over such a long season. It's much more difficult for these kinds of upsets to happen, I think. So that's all for this video. Please leave your thoughts down below. Do you have any other examples of dominant teammates and dominant machinery, and maybe the underdog driver getting a world championship as well? So thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.